Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on codandtech.net. My name is Shibam Dhar and I will be the host for this talk. With me today I have a Gold Microsoft Student Ambassador, coach at Major League Hacking, winner of Microsoft Visual Studio Code Hackathon and more, Mr. Aditya Oberai. Hello Aditya, how are you doing today?
I am very good, Shibam. Thank you so much for having me on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Likewise, it is so wonderful having you today with me, and I hope this video will help a lot of students with my questions. So, moving on to my first question is that I have seen from a long run you have been contributing to communities in tech as well as non-tech areas. In it is very much evident from your talk session from different communities that you are aspiring for develop. My question would be, what do you think are the crucial points for others if they are aiming for develop too?
All right. So when we talk about developer relations, of course, there are different facets within it. You've got some who are focusing on evangelism, some focusing on community management, some even working more on the product side. One common aspect of all of these, of course, is that you need to have a sort of empathy towards people. That is very important because, of course, the biggest aspect of developer relations is the developer, right? That
Right,
you're
true.
working with. So
Yes.
having that sort of an empathy for people is very important. Apart from that, yes, communication skills are crucial. And when I talk about communication, it doesn't have to be restricted to English. Yes, of course, that is very important because that is one of the most commonly used languages across the globe. So that is definitely there. But apart from that, having a connect in the vernaculars as well is very important. So that of course is there. And apart from that, considering that developer relations is a technical role as well, you do need to
True.
have some sort of a technical know-how, depending on the field or the domain that you are working within. So
Yeah,
those three
because
are common
sure.
generally by across the entire
Mhm.
development spectrum. And apart from that, each of the roles within developer relations has its own little things that you need.
True, because when I see people who are like just starting with develop, they are just focusing on the communication sector, and they are not thinking that how are they building, or even they are not taking the tech side as relevant. So, like, can you
Does
put up some
happen.
things that how tech
So
is very
yeah,
much relevant?
absolutely. Absolutely. So I mean, yes, it's one thing that if people are focusing more towards community management, it may not be as necessary to have a very, very strong technical base depending on the requirements of the organization because that is the role that within some organizations this comes within the engineering department, within some it comes under marketing. So it really depends on the company's requirements, and that is a role which may not need as much technical. But when you're talking about evangelism or you're talking about developer advocacy, at the end of the day, a big aspect of that is sharing technical knowledge, helping developers get acquainted with technical aspects of the product that you're working with, right? So if you
True.
yourself are not aware of how to use these products, it'll be difficult or even impossible to share that knowledge, right?
Right,
And
right,
it doesn't mean that you need to be the best at everything. Rather, you need to be a little good enough to maybe build basic um, products or basic applications, basic solutions with the technologies you're working with, and you should be really good at being able to teach those basics.
right. So, as I've seen, you are part of many tech communities with very active and appreciative work, I must say. Because when I see to these things like the videos you share, they are very like basic and they reach a abundance of audience. And am seeing that you keep that in that thing in your mind. And many students are yet to be part of such communities. So I would like you to guide all the students who are just started or wanting to start with tech communities with your experience with some tips to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, first of all, one thing that people think is that in order to get active in communities, you need to have a brand backing you, which is not true. You
Okay.
don't need any brand backing you to start off and to start contributing. Rather, um, if you think about it, if you build a better personal brand of your own for yourself, wouldn't it be easier for you to get affiliated with another company or another organization or another brand? Um, so why wait for someone else to be supporting you? That is first of all. Second, another thing that people often have is, when they start getting active and they see that, they're getting small numbers and not thousands and thousands in events, and a lot of people get discouraged by that, which doesn't make sense. Um, because, here's the thing. One thing that I've often noticed is that the smaller your audience is, the larger your impact is, because you can focus more. And when you're starting off, you do not need to start off with really huge amounts. That doesn't make sense. You don't have the experience to handle that. I don't have the experience to handle that. I'm still learning that. So I can't tell someone else to start off with that. So, you don't need to start very, very grand. It is all right. Rather, it's great to start small and then build from there. Those are two that definitely come to mind. And yeah, apart from that, I would say that when you start getting active in communities, there's a lot that starts happening. The moment you get a little set, you'll have opportunities that you can see from 10 different places, and please don't pick all 10.
Hmm.
Prioritize, choose what's best for you. Don't get into the pressure of um, rushing to opportunities, thinking that you might miss out or something on the other. Because fact is that whatever you leave, there is always going to be something to miss out. But not every single of these opportunities is going to keep you content and satisfied with the work you're doing.
Right.
And that is going to be priority, because if you're satisfied and content with your work, then you're going to continue working. And what's going to happen after one point is that you do not have to run after opportunities. You're going to find that your niche, you're going to find your domains, you're going to see that these are places that kind of fit in for you. There is a synchronization in the way you think in these organizations, these opportunities, the way they're working. So you're going to find the places you want to work with eventually, and you don't need to rush to every single opportunity in the path to get to that. Just take care of yourself there as well, and prioritize on what you believe is best for you.
Absolutely. So, in a gist, you are asking the students that whatever you are starting with, start with one or two and do it
Yeah,
carefully and start small so that you can give your 100% to that effort. And
absolutely.
eventually, if you do well, then other things will come to you and you don't have to run much.
Yeah,
That is a
yeah.
really
Quality,
brilliant point.
quality is key. Because with larger, it's difficult to start with quality, right? And even why not, even if we keep aside starting off, even as we get experienced, it is still difficult to maintain quality with very, very large groups. And
Yeah.
the one thing that you need to consistently keep providing within developer relations, at least, is that sort of a quality. That's what builds your personal brand, right? People trust you because you can ensure quality. So it's best to focus on that and continue to provide quality to as many as you can. And that as many as you can is not, it does not have to be a very large number. It can be a small number. But one thing that I've noticed, if you have a small number, you're able to create great impact for them. They become your advocates. So they'll
True.
anyway help you grow, right?
True. And for the viewers who are watching this, I must tell that the quality Aditya is speaking of has given him so much things that now his videos also, if I'm not wrong, it's featured in .NET by Microsoft, right? If was featured in
That
.NET,
was
right?
one feature, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
was like, it was
at
so
the
amazing.
.NET Conf, one of my projects, yeah.
It is really nice. It is really nice. So, moving on to my next thing is that you have not only organized hackathons but also participated and even won it. So, I would like you to tell the viewers your journey and experience from organizing a hackathon to winning a hackathon, like the whole procedure you have gone through.
Yeah. So my journey had a very different sort of a start. I did not start into hackathons by participating. I started straight away from organizing. Back in first year, I was working with a couple of clubs, and
Mhm.
they were organizing a fest. I was working with them, and I started off through sponsorship work. And that was my first exposure to hackathons, because that was one of our first 24-hour hackathons. We'd never had that in at least the recent few years, until the year I joined. So, at that point, I saw what a hackathon was, and that really got me excited, to be honest. We had people coming from outside, sitting, working like crazy for 24 hours. And, I was just looking at it like, what are these people doing? And they're crazy or something. But, at that same point, it just starts hitting me. This is really cool. This is fun. They're building what they want to build. I mean, half of the time we're working based on what the rest of the world wants. be it college, be it job requirements, interviews, managers, family, everyone. But this is something these people were doing just for themselves, right? And that to me is a very, in its essence, was a very cool thing. So I just got stuck to that world. And in fact, that's also when I first heard about the Microsoft Student Partner Program. So that was a good experience. And after that, that's when I got active into communities, and communities brought me back to hackathon and vice versa. And, that's how it went on and on. And also, end of first year, closer to second year is when that happened. Second year, we were working on the second iteration of the same hackathon, which got cancelled due to some internal administrative reasons, sadly. Sadder because we had gotten selected as an MLH member event, and we had to cancel after that. But after that, I had gotten a lot more active outside college, and I was working with some other student ambassadors, then known as student partners. And
Yes.
we worked on another different hackathon, which was called Hackon Hackathon. And this was after the pandemic had set in. So it was one of those first big virtual hackathons, at least in the Indian student community space. And that one hackathon happened, and then I just got so much more active with hackathons, because after that there were some speaking opportunities, there were some mentoring opportunities, some judging opportunities that came up just around this while, when within the pandemic MLH started the summer league. I thought, let's get started participating. So they had a hackathon called Rookie Hacks, which was dedicatedly for first time hackers and beginners, and that's where I started off. I went in solo in that hackathon. I incidentally built one of my first, probably my first Xamarin application around that time as well, which is the technology that has gotten me into the .NET communities.
Right.
That's all. That was Xamarin's the reason I got selected in .NET Foundation, and the application that was featured at .NET Conf is another Xamarin app that I worked on. So that is when I started off with that, and then soon after I just started teaming up with a couple of other friends. It just started off as friends. Some of us friends from the community. We just got together and we like, let's go participate in hackathons. And just soon after Rookie Hacks came the Microsoft VS Code hackathon, which we
Yeah.
ended up winning. So I mean, to some extent, it was just us trying to have a little bit of fun and luck, and but then they say you create your own luck. So I guess that's what happened.
Of course, like I won't say it was wholly luck, because you had a good, powerful team, as well as good
The team was really good.
idea, the good picture of point of view. You made the things, the idea which you pitched. It was so like perfectly well
Yeah,
made.
that really worked out well for us. That is
Yeah,
something we worked on very carefully.
yeah. So basically, if I'm not wrong, you have you have inside the hackathon in every ways, like from judging,
I
mentoring,
have been.
and
I have been.
participating, organizing, everything.
Yeah, I
So
have been in all
basically,
spaces.
that's wonderful. So, like just now you talk about MLH. So recently you have joined MLH as a coach for the APAC region. So,
Yeah,
being a coach gives you lots of responsibilities. Like I see coaches
absolutely.
are doing this and that. So, what was your aspiration which made you go towards MLH coach?
Yeah, that actually started back in, I believe, October 2019. So October 2019, we had this hackathon in Delhi called Hack CBS, and that was MLH's APAC launch event. They did it simultaneously in two places, at LNM IIT and SSCBS in Delhi University. And Hack CBS was at the same time, on that weekend we were having our first ever MSP meetup in Delhi since I joined the program. So we had Arkyuditi Saha from Indian DevRel at Microsoft. We had Simran Jha from GSMO. Then we had three folks from Microsoft, from outside India as well. We had Christopher Harrison, who a lot of people might recognize as Geek Trainer. We had Vanessa Diaz, and we had Burnworst, who's another cloud advocate. And at the same time, we had um, Swift from MLH at Hack CBS. And
Okay,
for those who do not know, Mike Swift is the co-founder and CEO of MLH.
true, true.
So at that point, we had Hack CBS. We had a proper networking meeting session. We had a group activity there, and it's just it was Swift's keynote where he talked a lot about his journey with hackathons, to getting to starting MLH and why he started MLH. And that got me really excited. That got me really interested about MLH. So I kept following MLH for some time. And of course, at that point, I'd also gotten, as I kept getting more and more active within the hackathon space, that was, of course, I kept seeing what the coaches are, right? And as I kept getting more and more active with hackathons, I kept getting more and more active with the MLH community. So my first activity with MLH, I mean, apart from we had a couple of MLH local host activities that were done out apart from the hackathons and all. But my first major activity with MLH was conducting the local Hack Day share, which was incidentally probably the first major virtual event MLH had done as well, because it was just after the pandemic had begun in April. And I conducted the local Hack Day share. After that, Hack Jaipur came. Hack Jaipur, I was a speaker and a judge. And then after Hack Jaipur, I had submitted a CFP and I got selected as a speaker at MLH's conference as well. That
Okay.
was HackCon 8.
Yes.
And what had happened is that in all of this while, I kept getting more and more in touch and interacting more and more with folks at MLH. And um, I really loved what they're doing. I really loved the sort of culture that was going on in there and the sort of work they were doing, because they were doing everything hackathon, and that's so exciting, to be honest. And um, keeping in mind meeting Swift, and after that, because I'd gotten active in virtual hackathons. Sorry about that, electricity cut. So having gotten active in hackathons, I actually, because I'd been active in MLH hackathons, I actually got featured in Swift's keynote at HackCon as well. I had a little clip around. I was there in a clip on digital hackathons, and after that, with the speaker sessions there and the hacker hangouts and organizer hangouts, that got me so much more invested in these. So I went ahead. I just applied for the role. There were some written questions, after which there were interviews, which
Okay.
were not technical, but they were heavily focused on community work and hackathon organizing. And since that had been my domain at this point for almost a year, I was able to get through that. But those interviews were difficult.
That's nice, because just because of
Yeah.
some aspiration or some aim and some motivation, you were pursuing this particular thing. And this is
Yeah.
the main thing why you should go for, I must say, almost everything. If you are going for something, search for some motivation, whatever suits you, and just go for it.
Yeah. It wasn't because, a lot of people I have noticed, and this is something I used to at one point, and that is that, we often chase brands because we think they're marks on resumes. And that is all right. That's how I had started off. I mean, that's the reason I got into Microsoft Student Partner. But, for me, I got my exposure very quickly after that. And that's when I fell in love with communities. It's all what I always recommend is figure out something that you really want to do rather than chasing a company, because that's what's going to make you happy. You have
True.
to, I mean, it's one thing, if you keep working and you think it's a great brand, but if you don't like what you're doing, you're going to burn out very quickly, and you're going to hate what you're doing. And even if it's not the biggest brand, but you love your work, you're going to keep growing, right?
Right.
Your growth has to be your priority rather than just your affiliations and brands.
Right. So the next question is like, for the viewers who are leading some organization or community. So the thing is that in a community there are people with different views and ideas, and this creates a fair chance of misunderstanding leading to some disputations. So what will you suggest, or how would you tackle them?
One point that has to be kept in mind if it's a work based conflict, you have to separate that, these conflicts are often not personal in nature. And that is something that I have seen time and again within communities. People take a lot of things personally. To be honest, for me, I think my conflicts have taught me a lot more than just chilling and working together. Um, that is the nature about conflicts, right? Until you don't get stuck at a point, you're not gonna grow.
Right.
um, and it's good to have conflicts to some extent, as long as you're able to deal with them in a professional manner. I think it's great to have conflicts. It's very important because until you don't have a conflict, your exposure and horizons aren't growing. Until then, you're just focusing and thinking about your perspective. But it's only when someone else's perspective clashes that you understand um, what people around you think, how they want to go about things, what they're feeling, and how they're being impacted by actions around them and actions by you. And it's only until you understand those perspectives that you can help people who might have similar perspectives, right, in the future as well, or even if it's necessary at that point of time. But at the same time, you have to understand that even if it's an argument or a fight, you have to stay focused on the fact that you're not trying to fight against someone. You're trying to fight with them to understand something.
Right.
In I mean, in an ideal situation, a conflict would help communities. A conflict like that would help both people grow. And that's what you have to work towards. That you have to figure out what is best for both, how both are being impacted, and how both can benefit from these situations, right? And if you're able to do that, it is great to have conflicts. I mean, as long as that's happening, it's great. But sometimes, what happens is that there is someone who you totally can't work with, you totally don't understand, you have a very, very different mentality and mindset. And that is okay. It is all right to respect differences. You don't have to forcefully work with everyone. But at the same time, it is necessary to respect the fact that they've got their thing. And if they're not trying to hinder or hurt someone, it's all right to not work with them as long as you're able to respect what they're doing.
Right, that's a good point, and I think every not only the students but also the leaders of the community should also follow it, like not taking it personally and keeping it in a professional manner. That's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Okay, so next is that students, especially freshers, are often trouble with handling their college life in different zones. What would you suggest for all the students who just started their college life or yet to explore different zone in aspect of how to maintain a balance between academics and communities?
Um, all right. So when we talk about balance between academics and co-curriculars, it's very necessary to find a sweet spot where you're able to devote time to both. In the very beginning, because in the beginning you're not overloaded with pressure. If you're able to figure it out, then it's gonna help you a lot later on. I think one thing that often happens is that we have people believing in the fact that if they have a great GPA, they're gonna be comfortable and they're not gonna have a problem. And because of that, a lot of times they don't end up doing things outside their academics. And sorry to break it for these folks, but that's not how it works.
Right.
It's important. It's important to have a good GPA. It's not to say that you leave your academics. It's very important to have a basic. And of course, if you have your own plan and reason that if you might want to go for a master's or something, that's great. You need a GPA for that. But for those folks who think that they want to get into top um, organizations and top roles, and they feel that this GPA is going to get there, that's not going to happen. So at that point, it's very important to understand what niche you want to work towards and start from the very beginning. And this happens a lot. A lot of colleges we have. I often hear from people, in meetups, because we keep having virtual meetups with different communities on and off for some or the other reason. And one thing that often comes up is that for first years or second years, a lot of times they tell me that seniors have told them they can chill in first and second year, and even if these kids wanna work, they're like, you don't need to. And I have to urge all seniors to stop doing that. If a fresher has, or a second year, if a fresher or a sophomore, if they have an idea of what they want to do and they want to experiment, rather, it is important to encourage that. And
Right.
for the freshers and sophomores, if a senior is telling you should stop working because you can chill right now, please don't listen to them. Keep working, keep growing. It's gonna help you a lot when you reach these senior years.
Right,
And
because you
yeah,
do have to maintain a pace because suddenly you cannot
yeah,
just jump into
you
something.
can't you can't suddenly skyrocket. It's important to
Right.
have that sort of a balanced, and gradual growth will allow you to not get burnt out quickly. If you gradually keep working and gradually increase your load, you know how to handle your time, you know how to handle that pressure as well. If you suddenly skyrocket, you're gonna crash just as fast.
Right. And it's become difficult also, suddenly getting sudden hype.
Very,
You are not
yeah,
well trained enough, you are not well experienced enough. Right, absolutely.
absolutely.
So, so at last, like, if you have any note for all the viewers or any sort of message for them, then just do tell us.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing that I have to, I keep remembering, and that is, one thing that a lot of people have is that if they're trying to share, if they have basic, rudimentary, fundamental knowledge, they feel scared to share that. And they feel that, if someone says that it's not advanced enough or good enough. And to that group, I have to tell, please keep sharing. There are more people who need that than those who need advanced knowledge. So you don't have to wait. Learn and share. Keep doing that. Um, firstly, and that's something I try to keep focus on. If you're able to share, if you're able to remain that simple and keep sharing the simple stuff, you're gonna get to the big stuff anyway, and your simple stuff is gonna keep benefiting those who need that. So that is there. And secondly, one thing I have to urge people who ask for help, either on social media platforms or in meetups, if you need help around something, please first try to see if you can figure it out on your own. A lot of times what happens is people message, hi, I want to apply for student ambassador. You're doing good work. I see it's very cool.
Hmm.
Can you tell me how to apply? It's there on the website. You can check the form.
Right.
If you're like, I've tried this, I've done this, I think it's not good enough, I think I can improve it, can you check this work and see if it is cool? That is still all right, because you put in the effort and you're not trying to see something that you might not get anyway. um, as subjective as it might be, that is still all right. But the moment you have a situation where people are trying, I mean, this is okay, I have to tell something very funny that happened once. I had a person who randomly commented on a couple of my Insta posts that please check my DM, please check my DM, please check my DM. And I went and checked, and he's like, hi, I am this person, I'm in first year, tell me what to do. How can I do that? How can I do
Very.
that? If you don't know what you want, I can't help you, right? I can't just put something on you randomly that
Right.
I might want and you might not. And that doesn't make sense to me. So it's very important that if you want to keep growing and you need help, it's great to ask for help. Ask for help as much as you want, because people want to help, but please don't ask for stuff that is a Google search away. That doesn't make sense to me at all. Because that just shows that you're not trying to put in the effort. You just want to be spoon fed, and
Right,
that's not
absolutely.
how things work.
No.
And fact is that whether you like it or not, you're not gonna get spoon fed in the future. Either you can do it or you can't. So you have to build a habit where you are doing that stuff. You're putting in the effort for you. Um, take me, take Shibam here, take anyone who you see who's big in the community. Um, Even if I have to take my mentors, like, Yashraj Naik is there, Ankita is there at Brugade. We've got Ali Mustafa Sheikh, who's recently joined Postman as well, and he leads the
Yes.
FUG Mumbai. We've got Paras Pundir at Microsoft. Anyone, who you see who's crazy big in the communities. Um, all of these people got to where they are because they were putting in that work for themselves, and they did whatever they could. And where they got totally stuck and where they couldn't, it was all right to ask for help, right? It's all right to reach out. That's what communities are for. But you've got to put in that effort. You have to keep working hard for yourself. Because this is something happens that happens. And even if I talk about like my own experiences, if I talk about getting to MLH coach, um, people think that it was an application and interviews and you got in there, but no, that wasn't what it was. It was over a year's hard work that has been continuing in communities that got to that. So there's always that journey, and you will start from scratch. That is where everyone starts, but you have to take that step. And when you start taking that step, you will always find people who are 10 steps ahead. Please stop comparing with them. You
Hmm.
can't, like, suppose this is again a very common thing.
Yes, people do
um,
compare from the
People
people who are
compare
already have done
on
things.
the very wrong, yeah, from the very wrong folks. I mean, let's just, the perfect example here is competitive programming. I see people people have gotten in touch with me. They're 2 stars on Code Chef, and they'll start comparing with people who are 4, 5 stars. And the thing is, those people have put in the time and effort, and they also started where you were. So why compare with someone who's gone through those 10 steps? Rather go through those 10 steps and then compare with what they were, right? Then it makes sense if you're at the same level, if you're at the same tier. But if you're not, please put in those steps first. Stop worrying about what the others are doing. Focus on what you can do and do that.
Absolutely. The things which you shared, which are like I will say the most crucial parts of this video, because the things you said, it is very much right that people wants to be spoon fed, but the mentors can only guide with
Yeah,
their efforts. They cannot make you do the effort. They can only guide you to do the effort.
absolutely. I actually have
Yes.
an example here. So there is a person who I've worked with a couple of times now. Um, he's from a not so premier college in a not so known city. This person is known as Kartike Rawat. He's from Bhilai Institute of Technology, Durg. And he tried for a couple of community programs. He didn't get in, and that didn't stop him. He's created his own community. He started this community called Developer Student Community, and he kept working at it. He kept doing his own thing. More recently, he is now one of the co-organizers with TensorFlow User Group, Chandigarh, I believe. He was his guild was the number one guild out of all at local Hack Day Learn. I know because my guild was third and he was first, and I kept seeing because I stay in touch with him. I worked with him. He worked with me at ProGate. I did a podcast with him for his personal channel, and um, the work he's done is freaking amazing, and he did all of that without being backed by any major organization. And after it's only after he took his start that he started getting affiliated. After that, he worked with Code for Cause. He's working with them. He's of course working with TFUG. He's worked with quite a few others as well. And right now, his community, the way they're growing, is actually amazing. And um, he just went ahead and did it. His lack of relations or affiliations or brands at his back did not stop him. And that's the sort of example that you need to follow. That it doesn't matter where you're coming from, what sort of opportunities you have had. If you don't have stuff happening for you, just create your own. Even for me, when I started off, I didn't start off with working with 10, 15 different people. I started off working alone, started off with my own activities, just got active with one of the clubs I'd been working with otherwise, but it was all on me to create my starting opportunities. And um, the fact is that, if you're able to work independently, you will never have a problem jumping into a team and leaving a team because you know how to take care of yourself.
Right,
But
right,
until you don't do that, you're not learning how to work independently. And it's very important to learn how to do that.
right. Okay, so with the end of questions, like I would like you to share your social media in this video. Also, it will be with the video. So if you can just share your social media handles so that people can reach you for further questions and assist, that it will be good.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm always available on LinkedIn, Twitter. Those are my primary. Apart from that, there's Instagram. And if you want to find all my socials, I recently development. I've just worked on HTML, CSS, just starting with JS portfolio. And it is adityaoberai.anytime, and you can find all my socials there. Connect with me. One major request, if you're connecting on LinkedIn, please personalize the invite and mention that you found my socials from here. If you do that, I'm gonna connect a lot quicker because a lot of times we end up getting pending requests and few of those. And what happens is a
Right.
personalized invite always stands out in the LinkedIn
Hmm.
application as well because it shows the message when you're checking those applications. So if that is there, I will always connect. If that is not there, I actually sit and check profiles, and sometimes some get lost, so it takes a lot of time. So I'll request you do that. But yeah, you can find all my socials there. It'd be
Okay,
lovely
thank
to
you.
connect. Yeah,
So this was wonderful, and with this we come to the end of this video. And I would like to thank you very much for like joining this session and sharing your experience, your thoughts, your points, which is very much important, which will be very much important for the viewers. So thank you, Aditya, for joining me. It was wonderful having you. Okay. So viewers, with this we come to this end. If we come to the end of this video, and I will be back with worldwide people of worldwide communities and tech. Thank you.